Today I've got an interesting guest. His name is Brian Poole. He has purchased the Ralph Buckner Funeral Home, Fike Funeral Home, Etowah Chapel, and Grissom Funeral Home. I'm interested in talking to him and see what his plans are. It's going to be a great discussion. Thanks for joining. So Brian, good to meet you.
Good to meet you, sir. Thank you for having us today.
I don't think we've even run into each other, have we?
No, sir, I don't think so. I saw you maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago over at Aubrey's one day for lunch.
Oh.
And you was walking in with somebody else and didn't get to speak to you, but Steve Hartline told me that was you.
Oh,
and I told him, I said, yeah, I'm meeting with him.
Were you with Steve?
I was at lunch, yes, sir.
Boy, isn't he a nice guy?
Very nice guy. He's probably been one of my biggest fans, you know, and just true friends since I've got to Cleveland. I met him actually before we took over the funeral home, and I mean, you couldn't ask for a nicer fella, you know, that's been, you know, giving me confidence and cheering me on and trying to get me in contact with everybody in Cleveland, Bradley County, and probably been my biggest supporter, you know, since I've got here.
Well, what you see with him is what you get.
Yes, sir.
He is the real deal.
He is, yes, sir.
I mean, I really like him.
Yes,
Cleveland's
sir.
really good, really fortunate to have him here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You could call him right now. He'd come and help you.
He would. He would. Matter of fact, I just texted him on the way over here and said, hey, any last minute advice before I see Dee today?
What did he say?
He said, just pack your lunch. He said, you'll be fine. So that was pretty much it. So it was all good.
I listen to him in the mornings, going to work, and Dwayne. Have you ever heard anything from Dwayne? Do you know Dwayne that works with him?
I do. I know that he's had some medical issues going on, and I haven't even asked Steve about that lately. Last time I talked to him was probably a month or so ago about him, and he said he was, you know, trying to go through treatments and things like that, and definitely wish him the best, praying for him for sure.
Dwayne will beat it if anybody can beat
That's
it.
what Steve
Boy, he's
said.
smart.
That's
Did
what
Steve say that
he
exact
said
same thing?
He said did. He sure did. He said if anybody can beat that, it'd be Dwayne. He sure did.
Boy, Dwayne's a good one, too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I built their building that they're in.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just about a mile from
It's
half
not
a mile.
far. Yeah, not far from here at all.
On the courthouse square at 30 2nd Street is the law firm of Logan Thompson Law. Since 1965, they have served the legal needs for the good citizens of Cleveland, Bradley County. If you've got a problem, they're no problem. Give them a call.
We may have a mutual friend. I built Zaxby's here in Cleveland, and the architect's name was Stuart Livingston, and he lived in Woodstock, Georgia.
Okay. I've heard that name.
Well, he was a big architect, and I only met him a couple of times, but he was real nice, real
Yes, sir.
real accommodating. Are you from Woodstock originally?
I'm originally from a little town in Dothan, Alabama, down in South Alabama. If you go into the beach, you go through Dothan.
Close to Biloxi?
No, so we're on the other side of the state. We're on the southeast corner. We're north of Panama City, Mexico Beach, that area. Like I said, if you're going on spring break or just going to Panama City, you just about have to go through Dothan if you're going that direction.
I've heard Dothan, Alabama my whole life. Is it big?
Well, it wasn't when I was growing up, but it's definitely growing now. It's kind of like Cleveland. It's really growing. A lot of retail businesses down there. Don't have as much manufacturing as they used to. They used to have a big Sony plant there that made Sony equipment, radios, DVDs, CDs, things like that. They made all that there in Dothan. That plant's gone. Just a lot of retail businesses there. Healthcare, they got 2 big hospitals there in Dothan, and it's a pretty nice area. It's just changed a lot. And I've been going from there since 2011 is when I moved to Woodstock.
That's not been that long ago.
Not been long
Time
ago.
flies.
It flies by, yes, sir. It does.
Can you believe that's been 12 years?
I can't. I tell my wife every day, I said, God, when we moved here, kids were babies, you know.
Yeah, they don't even know Dothan.
One of them, yeah. The youngest one was born in Dothan, and we left there, I guess, about a year after she was born. So she was born in 2010, and so they grow up fast.
Are you living part-time in Cleveland now?
Well, I'm more of a half and half. We're trying to get our house finished up. We bought a house here. Hopefully be ready middle of next month is where we're at. But we bought it, been here. I'm here just about every day. You know, I go back every night, couple of nights a week back to Woodstock, and then I'm staying here as much as I can and trying to serve families as much as I can here now, and just try to get in the community, get known, and show people what we're about.
Do you, what is it, about an hour and 40-minute drive?
I could usually make it about an hour and 20 minutes.
Which way do you go?
I go down Cleveland Highway down to Varnell and pick up 75 right there and straight shot down to Ackworth Woodstock exit. And it usually takes me about an hour from the time I get on the interstate to there. So
You have to get on, what,
it's 575,
575.
but I don't have to get off of there because where our house was at in Woodstock, we actually have an Ackworth address. Our funeral home was in Woodstock. So when I get off at 75, I'm not 3 miles from my house.
Oh, is
so
that
I don't
right?
have to get on 575.
Because if you live downtown Woodstock,
Oh, yeah,
it'd
take
be
me a lot
another.
longer. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That downtown area has exploded down there. I mean, in Cherokee County, I was a county commissioner there from 2013 to 2016, and I saw a lot of growth coming to the county. You know, when I was there, I think we had about 250,000 people there at that time, and now it's pushing close to 300 or over. It really has grown. It's probably one of the fastest growing counties in Georgia, other than Forsyth.
Have you ever made the mistake of going down 575 and going to cross over to Chatsworth through that mountain?
I've been that way a couple of times.
Well, takes forever.
It does.
doesn't it?
It does. It sure does.
I mean, you can't use the phone or
No,
nothing.
you can't. It's a dead zone in there, and that's no pun intended. It's definitely a dead zone because you're up and down and around curves and all that. So it is a different area for sure.
I took that when I was about 17. I got lost driving, and I thought I'd never get home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's some
It
hills
was
and
dark.
valleys in there.
It
Yes,
was
sir.
dark, and I can't remember what I was doing down there. But
Yes, sir.
It was, I go to Blue Ridge a lot, and I like that
Yeah, it's
area.
a beautiful country out there. It sure
and come
is.
through Copper, but that'd take you another
Yeah.
little while longer.
Yeah, take a little bit longer to go that way.
You ever get tired of driving that much?
No, because it kind of gives me a chance to kind of sit and think about all that's happened during the day. And, you know, before I get home, it kind of gets my mind off of business and kind of lets me look forward to meeting and seeing my family. And, you know, being to have two girls, they're pretty special to me. And, you know, when you're in a business like I am, you know, you don't get a whole lot of time to see them. And that's what I was telling my wife just not long ago. I said, it just seems like yesterday they were babies. And my oldest one will be 18 in November. She'll be a senior next year. And my youngest one, she'll be 14 in July, and she'll be a 9th grader. So they're both starting school up here in Walker Valley next year. So
Walker Valley is a good school.
Yes, sir. We met with Dr. Belt up there last week twice and took a tour of the school and got to see some of their fine arts programs and things like that. And I tell you, those kids up there are really talented. I mean,
You got to be pretty well on your toes.
you got to be with it. And those kids are really impressed me. I mean, there was a couple of the lead guys in the Anastasia play that they was doing over the weekend was both freshmen. I mean, 9th graders, but you look at them, you think they was seniors. I mean, just what they was doing. I mean, I was blown away. It was very impressive.
Do they mind coming to school here on their senior year? Or?
No, that's one thing, you know, I talked to my oldest daughter about. I said, are you sure you're okay with, you know, doing this change? I said, you know, you don't have to. I said, we'll make it where,
Figure it out.
you know, we'll figure it out where you can stay and finish. She's like, no, Dad. She says, I feel like I'm okay. And she wants to go to college at Lee University and be a nurse. So that gets her up here and she can do both, you know, gets her for school her senior year and do some dual enrollment as well with Lee. So
in a way, you're following her.
I'm following
Because she was
her.
coming to Lee anyway,
Yeah,
I guess.
coming to Lee, yeah.
Wasn't, speaking of Steve Hartline, let's see. No, Kevin Brooks, our mayor, he was from somewhere. He was from Georgia, I believe.
I I think I've
He
been,
came here to Lee.
Yeah, I think I've heard that too about him. I met him a couple of times and been really impressed with Mayor Brooks and just got to meet him and enjoyed meeting him and been a good guy.
Cleveland's got so many good people.
Yes, sir.
Is Woodstock that way?
Woodstock's a little different. Woodstock's more of a younger person or younger generation type area. Probably, I think the median age there is probably 42 to 43, 44 years old.
Is that right?
Very, very young, attractive people, young professionals come to work
You don't
there.
look much older than that.
I turned 50 in November of last year, so
What day in November?
the 9th.
Mine's the 10th.
Okay, well, we're close together.
We're Scorpios.
Yes, sir, we are Scorpio.
We
that's
got
right.
problems, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, no doubt.
Don't cross us.
No, sir.
Not one time.
No, sir. No, sir. You got to stay on top of everybody.
I've known more people that was born in November.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. That's what I said. To think about turning 50 years old, you know, you think, golly, where'd my life go? But it's been good. I mean, the good Lord's blessed me with a lot of opportunities, and never thought I'd have an opportunity to come to Cleveland and own 4 funeral homes up here. That was just never something I expected. And but we're thankful for it, and we're trying to build our brand and show folks what we're about and how to treat people the right way.
Now, do you have one or two in Georgia?
Yes, we got one in Woodstock that we talked about. We built it from the ground up in 2015, and it's about a 12,000 square foot building. And then I bought another funeral home in Morrow, Georgia, which is down below the airport. The same time I bought these here from Ralph. So we did all those closings. So we had 6 total when we closed our deal last September. So
You're a busy person.
busy person, yeah. But you know, I'm very thankful. I got some good people that work with me in Georgia that kind of know, you know, what I expect and how we do things there, and they can pretty much run it every day, you know, without me being there on top of them. And I trust them, and I know what they're doing. But I'm gonna be here in Cleveland, and I'm gonna turn these funeral homes back around. If it's the last thing I do, I want to get them going back the right direction and take care of folks the right way, and just build a good professional business.
Do you think, what got you into the funeral business?
It's funny you asked me that. When I was a junior in high school, my dad owns a construction company, and they do concrete and asphalt. They've got dump trucks, and they haul gravel and different things. And I was working with him one spring break during my junior year. And we was sitting in his office one day because it'd been raining, we couldn't do a lot. And he was just asking me, he said, "Son, what do you think you'll do when you graduate high school?" I said, "I think I'll probably go to Wallace." That was a little junior college there, and get my 2 years of academics. And then I wanted to go to Auburn. Had always had a desire to go there. And he's like, "Why don't you get in the funeral business?"
Now, what
And-
possessed him to say that?
You know, only thing I can say, it was the good Lord speaking through him, you know, telling me what my purpose in life was to do. And I just looked there and said, "Dad, why in the world do I want to be in the funeral business?" I said, I don't care about nothing like that. And but he planted that seed in my mind that day, and for the next 2 or 3 weeks, that was all I thought about was, how do I get in the funeral business? So I called him up and I said, "Dad," I said, "you talked to me about getting in the funeral business not long ago." I said, "You know, how do I go about getting in the funeral business? What do I do? What do I need to say? What do I do?" Basically, I was just, you know, I was a 17-year-old kid. And he says, "Just, you know, go to some of the funeral homes and just ask them, can you work? You know, just tell them you work for free. You just want to see if you're cut out for this type of work." And so I started going to had 3 funeral homes in Dothan at that time. I went to each one of them just begging them to let me work some. And they all just kind of blew me off. And one Friday, I was out of school for some reason. And I don't remember what it was for. Could have been Good Friday or something. And I went by my grandmother's house that morning, and she was just chatting with me. And I was reading a newspaper, and I saw one of the funeral homes had 5 funerals that Saturday that I had been going to, you know, asking for a job. So I told my grandma, "So I'm fixing to run over to Bird Funeral Home in Dothan, Alabama." It was 20 minutes away. And I said, "I'm gonna go over and see if there's any way they'll let me help them tomorrow on these 5 funerals," because I knew they was gonna be busy. And so I went over there and walked in the walked in the front door that morning, and I met Max Jackson. He was funeral director who'd been in this business in Dothan for over 60 years, and just a good man, and people loved Max in the funeral business, and they knew that he was truly genuine. I said, Max, I've been coming by here, several times now, begging y'all to let me work. I said, you don't have to pay me, just let me be here, just see, see what I can do and see if this is something I'm interested in. And he asked me, he said, well, you think you could drive a van? I said, yes, sir, I can drive anything that's got wheels on it. I said, whatever. He said, we'll be here in the morning at 7:30, and we'll let you see if you can do it.
Did you have a suit?
I called my dad after I left there. I said, hey, I need a suit. So he took me to, I think it was Dillard's back then or something like that. It was the big department store at the Dothan Wiregrass Commons Mall. And he bought me a suit, got it fixed so I have something to wear the next day, a shirt and black shoes and tie and everything. And I showed up there at 7:30, and the rest has pretty much been history since. I've been in or around the funeral business for almost 32 years, I believe, is when it started. And just, I watched and learned, and I didn't say a whole lot, just listened. And just took it all in, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and been doing it ever since.
Did your dad think you had a passion for that or anything?
He did. And kind of tie a little bit back to him. He was in the funeral business as a young man. He worked in the funeral home up in Montgomery, Alabama at White's Chapel and Leak Memory. And back then, when it was still independently owned, it wasn't corporate owned at that time. And he worked there for several years, but he didn't stay with it, And I asked him years later, I said, do you ever regret not staying in it? He's like, yeah. He said, I do. He said, but, I had a better opportunity to do things that he did, make more money than what most funeral directors make, of course. But I knew that was my calling, I knew that's what the good Lord wanted me to do. And I couldn't preach or nothing like that. I'm not a preacher, but I am a servant. I serve families, and I minister to them at the worst day of their life. And I know that's where I'm supposed to be. And my dad knew that, as when I was a young age. The lady who owned the funeral home there, she told my dad, she's like, I'll do anything in the world to help him. She said, I'm going to help him get his license and pay for him to go to school. She bought us suits to wear, every 6 months. We got 2 new suits. So I was raised in it around some really good people that, showed me truly what it meant to care about folks and serve people the right way.
Do you see it as sort of a ministry?
I do. Like I said, I can't preach. I'm not called to preach, but I can minister to that family. Like I said, at the worst time, they've lost somebody they love that's near and dear to their heart. And just being there to guide them through that, to get them through it, it's pretty hard. And I think that's a ministry outside of preaching, is what we do.
There's a lot of ministries that's not just preaching.
Right. There's a lot, sure.
Makes you wonder if that was the original and preaching came later, doesn't it?
It kind of makes you wonder, because you got, nurses everywhere. They're doing the same thing,
Who was that famous nurse lady? The nun? Who was that? Who was that, Gwen? That famous nun?
Sister Teresa or
Mother Teresa? Mother Teresa.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's a lot of it is serving, in ministry, and that's kind of what I call it as ministry as well.
I guess anything could be a ministry if you're trying to help someone. You can minister to the old people for mowing their yard, or even the young that don't have time.
Yes, sir, you could. Anything's a ministry if you treat it that way.
So your oldest daughter's looking to be a nurse?
She is. She wants to be a neonatal nurse. She was born as a preemie. When she was born in November of 2006, and she was supposed to be born in February of 2007, but she came early. She
was like 3 months early.
Yeah, she was 3 months early, and she weighed 2 pounds and 6 ounces when she was born.
It's got to be a record.
It was just small.
What's the smallest that people have ever been born?
At UAB at that time, there was a little baby, a boy, I believe, and he was born like 1 pound and 6 ounces. I think that's what he was.
One of my best friends in school was born real premature.
Mm-hmm.
He turned out real good.
Yeah. Usually, if they can get through that early stage, they do well. And my daughter's done well. She had a little bit of asthma during her younger years. That triggered a lot. But as she's got older, she's kind of outgrown that and doing well.
That asthma doesn't last long with some of those kids.
No, and that's what they told us. That the older she got, she would grow out of it, and she has. But now she's 5'7", 5'8", tall girl.
Taller than you?
No, she's not quite taller than me. I'm 6 foot. She's still a little shorter than me, but she's tall for a young lady for sure. And then my youngest daughter, she, like I say, she'll be 14 in November or July, and she looks just like her daddy. And I told her, I said, I feel so sorry for you. But my oldest one looks just like her mama, so it is what it is.
Well, things evolve. They change their looks, don't they, over time?
They do. They sure do. Even my youngest daughter, my oldest one, Olivia, when she was born, my first thing my wife says, she says, my God, she looks just like you and your daddy. And now she looks just like her mama.
Yeah, and your youngest may end up looking more like her, and then more like you, and back and forth.
You can't ever tell. Yeah,
we change too, right?
Yes, sir. We all change. We go from dark hair to gray hair to no hair, right? So
you got more hair than me.
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot.
Boy, we I could find a cure for that, don't you?
Yes, sir. We'd all be rich.
I'm thinking about shaving mine off.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've done that before, but that's when I had hair.
Yeah. Now it don't grow back as fast, does it?
Now it don't grow back,
yes,
so
sir.
I want to try to keep it.
You better keep it as long as you can.
Do you think that was there any surprises like taking over the funeral homes? Was there any surprises as far as Cleveland's concerned, or are funerals different in Cleveland than they are in?
Well, I would say here in Cleveland, it's still very traditional. Where people still want to be buried a lot. Have a casket, have a service, be buried at the cemetery or church cemetery. In Georgia, I noticed it's been a lot more transitional people moved in there from different places, and they don't own cemetery property. They don't want a cemetery property.
Yeah.
They just want to be cremated and take them home, or scatter them in the ocean, or scatter them in the mountains, whatever. But I see Cleveland is still very much traditional, than what it is back in Georgia. And I enjoy that because that's the way I was raised up down home. I mean, we didn't know a whole lot about cremation when I first got into business.
You're sort of old school, I guess you'd say.
I still am old school, yes, sir. I still enjoy traditional funeral services like it used to be back home. And but even down there now, it's changing in Dothan. There's a lot more people moving in there that's not from that area. And the biggest thing I see up here in Cleveland, I guess, is just the cemetery properties up here. That's what we have to deal with. The price of the spaces, the opening and closing charges is just ridiculously high.
Is that opening and closing of the grave of the?
Yes, sir. That's what we call opening and closing. It's where they open the grave up, set the vaults and everything.
So that guy's got to go ahead of time. Like 2 days ahead, or how do they do that?
Usually a day or two ahead of time, and they'll dig the grave and get the vault set. Usually the day of the service, and put the tent and chairs and everything up.
That's a lot of logistics, isn't it?
It is. It sure is.
Who coordinates that?
Usually it's us, the funeral directors. We call, whoever our grave digger is, what cemetery, and then the vault company, Wilbert Vault or Doric, whoever you're using. And, they take care of setting the chairs up and the tent and everything. The vault setup's usually the day of the service. And
because the service is usually what, 2 o'clock or something?
It could be in
maybe
the morning,
11,
10 or 11 or 1 or 2
but
or
it's
even
not
4.
8, so it had to have time to.
Yeah. Sometimes you may have an early service where a family say, hey, mom or daddy, they want to be buried out there when the sun came up. I've done a couple of those. Not many, but sometimes you'll have that request.
Because you couldn't leave the hole open all night, could you?
No, you don't usually do that, but every now and then we do it. It just depends on how many the grave guys got to dig that day or for the next day. It may be, and they put plywood over it, in case. That way nobody just goes walking through there in the afternoon.
So your grave digger, is that still the same one?
It is.
Jimmy Wright.
Jimmy Wright,
Jimmy
yes, sir.
Wright.
Yeah, he does all our grave digging
I
for
knew
us.
his daddy real well.
Yeah, yeah. Jimmy's a fine fella.
Reed Wright. He was a good guy.
Yeah, yeah. Mr. Jimmy's a nice guy. I enjoy working with him, and been really good to get to know since I've got here, and just salt of the earth.
He's down to earth, isn't he?
Yeah, very country.
Very country, yeah.
Yeah. But just, you couldn't ask for a better person. I mean, he does
Were
a
you
great
raised
job.
a little bit on the countryside?
Very much so, yes, sir. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. My mama raised 2 sons by herself. I didn't know my dad until I was about 14 years old, so I was still a young kid when I met my real dad, and we had it hard.
Had they been divorced, I guess?
Well, they was never married, just to tell you the honest God truth. They was never married. You know, I couldn't do nothing about my parents because I wasn't old enough to do nothing. They was doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, we was raised up very poor, I'll say that. I mean, didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth at all. And if I got what I should have got when I was growing up, I should have been, you know, some old poor drunkard because, you know, I just didn't have a good core around me at the time. And my grandmother, she basically raised me a lot herself, and I listened to her a lot. She gave me a lot of good sound advice, and got me in church at a young age, and I think that made a huge difference, you know, growing up. And some of my cousins now, they kind of live some rough styles, you know, with what they do, and I just decided I wasn't gonna have that kind of career for myself. I was gonna make something out of myself and work hard and achieve what I could achieve on my own. And that's pretty much what I've done. I've never been one to ask anybody much. I've just got in there and done it myself and been hard work. And just like these funeral homes here, I bought these other 5. You know, I didn't have no partners with me. It was all my hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. And that's what I've done. I've just worked my tail off and got what I've got from hard work.
But now you've got 6.
I got 6.
Do the economies of scale help out?
Somewhat, yes, they do. You know, I was doing good with the one we had. I mean, like I said, we built that thing from zero. You know, we bought it. We bought that property, built that building. We didn't have a bunch of pre-needs to fall back on. You know, we didn't have a file cabinet, people who came in here and made pre-arrangements years ahead of that, kind of like we do here in Cleveland. You know, there was a lot of pre-needs that was wrote here in the folders, and we didn't have that Woodstock. So it's taken an adjustment still because people here, they don't know us yet, you know, don't know anything. And, you know, you got some of the other funeral homes in town saying, yeah, you can transfer your pre-need to us. We'll accept them. And, you know, that's good and bad in a way, but, you know, let that family be the one to make that decision. Let them come and sit down and talk to us and say, hey, you know, why do you want to transfer? What's the issue here? And I think once you kind of talk to people about things like that, okay, we're good. You know, we feel more comfortable with who you are and what you're about. And we've had that happen already a couple of times. People, you know, said, hey, we're going to think about transfer. I said, well, come in and talk to us first. Meet us, know what we're about, what we do. And we've only had a few that's decided to transfer just because they know somebody else at another funeral home in town here, or friends with them, whatever. But it's good to have more than one. I always thought, you know, I'd like to have maybe 5, 8 funeral homes one day in my career. Never thought it would happen, but, you know, it did, and here we are. And just makes me work harder.
The first one you bought, was it already existing?
No, sir. That's what I said. The first one I...
So you had just come straight from Dothan to Woodstock?
Well, I came up to Dothan, or come up to Woodstock from Dothan in 2011. And
why Woodstock?
Well, I got offered a job to manage a funeral home for a corporation I work for. And they said, hey, we need to get somebody here that's, you know, can give us some stability here. This funeral home just needs some stability. And that town was growing. The town was growing a lot. And that funeral home was right downtown on Main Street in Woodstock. So you got a great visibility. I mean, but it's hard getting in and out of there just because of where it's at downtown. And I came there and managed that place. And then I also became a county commissioner there and got to knowing people. And I worked there for him for about 4.5 years. And I went and told him, I said, look, guys, I said, I don't really like working for the corporate funeral homes. I want to do something on my own. And I'm 42 years old, and if I was ever going to do something, now's the time to do it. And so I left them and went in debt for a lot of money to build that place. And just got in there, and like I said, we had no pre-needs. It was a brand new business, and I knew a lot of people in town, and a lot of people know my name, and they was behind us 110% to get it off the ground, and we did. And we started at zero, and last year, our funeral home there in Georgia, in Woodstock, we did 443 calls. Yes, sir.
How many was...
a lot of it's cremation, too. So
what percentage would you say?
Probably 60-40, just cremation.
So 200 and something funerals.
But people don't understand there's other things just other than cremation. I mean,
sure.
A lot of people think, oh, we're just going to cremate, but, you can't have a service. You can't have a memorial service without the body present.
You need to have that.
You got to have some type of closure.
Yeah.
Or you can have what we call a traditional cremation. It's just like a traditional funeral, but at the end of the service, we don't go to the cemetery, we go to the crematory. So the body's still embalmed, dressed, put in a rental casket, have a service at your church or at the funeral home. And, once you present everything, give everybody their options, you need to have some type of closure other than just, cremation and that's it. But everybody has their own choices, and we don't push anything. We just give you the options that's out there.
I had somebody tell me that, and it made so much sense, that a funeral service was not for the dead, but it was for the living.
Yes, sir.
To give them closure,
yes,
and
sir.
to give them an ending.
Right.
Because if you didn't have that, I mean, it could be psychological damage, couldn't it?
It could be. Everybody's different, but I think you need some type of closure for sure, if you're going to memorialize somebody. You come up there and you have a direct cremation, you'll have no service, you sign the papers for authorization, and we take them to the crematory. There's nothing.
Here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And I tell people, say, look, even if you don't do nothing but on your own, bury the cremains somewhere or scatter them in the ocean or something. That way you got a family, you can say goodbye, and you having that closure, other than just cremating and do nothing. Put them on the mantle or put them in the closet, But everybody's got their own preferences, what they want to do, and you just have to be open and give people the options.
And some people use their own church, but
They do.
But I always thought about this. What about years ago, it was 2 nights of
Visitation. Yes, sir.
And then the next day it was the funeral.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
it was a drawn out thing.
Yes, sir.
Now it's, well, we're here 2 hours before
The service.
funeral, and the ones that don't want to stay leave.
Right.
But I don't know if that's better. Do you have some people that still wants to service?
Oh, yeah, you do. You still have some people still here, even in Cleveland, in this area, there's still people want to have a 2-day visitation. We had one not long ago, a couple of weeks ago. We had, visitation one afternoon, then we had it another afternoon, then the next day was the service.
That's the way I think it should be.
Yes, sir. I like it, but that's what I prefer. That's kind of what it was back home.
Because everybody's not open, not available on a Tuesday or a Thursday.
That's
and
right.
You want as many people to be able to, because if they have a funeral at 3 o'clock on a Saturday and the visitation's at 1, how many's going to come? I mean, everybody can't. They're
Everybody
busy.
can't. They're
just,
busy.
It's
That's
not
right.
that they even don't want to. They're
It's
just
the
too
weekend,
busy.
and they're traveling. Just like a couple of weeks ago, we had a service Easter weekend, and it was full at the church, the chapel. But I think if it had been another weekend of that, it would have been overflowing. There would have been people outside, where we had to get a bigger area. So it all depends, the date, weekend time, holidays, things like that.
Do people still bring food like they used to?
Yeah.
Into the kitchen?
They still bring it to the kitchen, to the funeral home. They call and say, hey, we got food for, Miss Smith's family or whatever. Do y'all have a kitchen? We do. We have a kitchen. You can set it up. We have refrigerators. You can keep the food, cold. We have microwave ovens that you can heat it up. We have an ice machine. So still do that a lot.
Everybody in Cleveland that's 50 years old or older thinks of funerals, Fike Funeral Home, and the Coke machine that had the little 6-ounce Cokes in the back.
Yes, sir.
I mean, everybody. You remember that? Remember that, Glenn?
Yeah.
They were those real Cokes.
Sure. Yeah, I wish we had those bottles in the machines like that, but we don't have that anymore.
Don't even have them.
They have to get a can or a 20-ounce bottle out of it now. I think it's the way it is now. Yeah.
And you don't want you don't want that
no,
much.
no, you
but there
don't.
was something about those Cokes at that Fike Funeral Home back in the kitchen.
Oh, I'm sure. And speaking of Fike, we've renovated Fike a lot. We painted it on the inside, the ceiling and the walls. Put new floor covering down inside. Got new furnishings in there. I'm really excited about getting that funeral home open back up. Hopefully here in the next week or so it'll be open. Only thing we're waiting on is the carpet to go in the chapel right now. But
Things are hard to get now, aren't they?
It is.
It
really is.
Unless you're involved, you have no clue. I mean, it's just impossible. Especially something that big, you gotta have the same amount of the same thing.
Exactly. And that was one of our things that was so hard on the flooring was we could get, 50 boxes of this kind of carpet or this roll of carpet, but we didn't have enough to do everything. I was like, wow, I don't want to change everything up. But it's kind of what we had to do was our visitation rooms, we went with one type of carpet. Then in the chapel, we put a different type of carpet in there. And then we put the LVP in the high traffic areas. So I'm excited to get that open back up here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully next week, and get our open house and let the community come back in there and see that place again. Because I think they're really going to be impressed and happy to see something that was brought back from where it was at.
Do you have any history on that Fike Funeral Home? Didn't it used to be Murphy Funeral Home? Or
I don't know. I know that the Crocs family started that funeral home years ago. And then it sold, to different people. I think SCI owned it at one time, and then Ralph Buckner owned it, and it might have been another owner or two. But it's just been a lot of different families and companies that owned it. But we're excited about it. It's back family owned by us now, me and my wife and my daughters, and we're going to keep it that way as long as we can.
I guess your daughter will be working there part-time, right?
She will be. I told her, I said, this summer you get to work there and answer the phones and help us out. And both of my daughters can work around the funeral home. I mean, they can move flowers and set up the room for us. And I mean, they've been around enough, they know what they're doing. So yeah, they'll definitely be helping us this summer.
Well, it's a big funeral home.
It is. It's huge. That building's, I think, 17,000 square feet.
It's huge. Plenty of parking, too.
Plenty of parking, yes, sir.
Do you feel like you're going to do this in your 70s, or are you?
I'm going to do the funeral business as long as the good Lord give me the ability to do it. I told my wife, I said, I never see myself retiring. I just want to work till I can. I just love what I do, and I love helping families, and I just enjoy it. It's just what God gave me that ability to do, and I want to do it as long as I can.
Have you joined any churches here?
We haven't joined any churches yet, just because our schedule's been so crazy going back and forth and everything. But we do look forward to getting involved with the church here. Don't know where we'll go yet. We're Baptist by faith, is what we was both raised. So, but there's been a lot of other churches. Church of God has invited us to come worship with them. So we may just visit around till we find the right place the good Lord puts us at.
Is your wife, was she from Dothan?
She was from a little town west of Dothan called Hartford, Alabama. It's between Dothan and Andalusia, in the southwest part of the state. It's about 30 minutes west of Dothan. But I met her at a church picnic. She came with one of the girls that was out in my Sunday school class, and kind of met her and got to talking to her, and then we didn't see each other for a little while, and then met back up again and started dating, and been married to her since 2001.
Do you think that God has these paths for us?
Has what now?
Has these paths for us? Do you think God has this stuff all planned out?
Oh, absolutely, I do. Because why would he send me to Cleveland, Tennessee, of all places?
Of all places.
Where
your daughter wanted to go to Lee.
And my daughter wanted to go to school there. She did, and But you ask why. You pray to God and say, why did you put me here? Why did I need to go here? Show me why. And I prayed a lot about it before we ever did make the commitment to buy these funerals. I said, Lord, only way I'm doing this is if you show me the way. Because I've never had to borrow the amount of money I've had to borrow ever in my life. And where I should have been at, I should have never been able to do that. Just the way I was raised up and grown and different things. Never did have that kind of money in my life as a kid, never even thought nothing like that. Like I said, my mama raised 2 boys, and it was hard enough as it was to grow up like that. And so, yeah, I think it's definitely him that he passed our crosses, for that.
Do you have any hobbies? Do you golf or anything?
Well, I like to go hit the golf ball. I wouldn't say I'm a good golfer, but I do like to go play. Just gets me a break and kind of lets me go out there and decompress and spend some time outside in the good Lord's country and enjoy it.
Boy, it's a nice day out there today, isn't
it? It is, yeah. I was looking on the way, it was 74 degrees when I looked at things this afternoon.
It was in a low wind. I don't like a lot of wind for
either.
some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about wind.
Yeah. I noticed it was, Thursday, when the wind was so high around here?
March is the windiest month of the year. I looked it up here a while back, and the most windiest day on the average is March the 26th. Isn't that funny? That's about, let's see, now right now this is blackberry winter, I think.
I've heard somebody else say that. Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either. I've heard it.
I think you get a little bit of warm weather, and then it turns off cold for about 5 days, and then it goes back to warm, and that's usually about income tax time.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Do you mark things with income tax time?
I can remember it every year when it's time. Yeah.
Well, that's a job, isn't it? Keeping up with income tax.
It is.
Man.
I'm glad I got a good accountant that does that for me.
Do you think? Speaking of, you said your daughter was, what, 5'7"?
Yes,
Isn't that the height of that basketball star that played last night, Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, she's playing today. I was listening to the game.
Was it up here? Or I thought it was last night.
No, they're playing the championship game today.
Oh, so there's 2 games.
Yeah, she got that.
Did I read right that she's 5'7"?
Something like that, yeah.
How can she play basketball?
She's good, no doubt.
You would have to be good, because everybody else that's probably the shortest person in the thing. Where's she from?
I don't know where she's from, but I know she's a good player, and she's very determined. I'll say that for her.
She's made people watch women's basketball lately.
She sure has.
Where's she from, reckon?
I don't know. I heard that she had an offer for one of those rap guys that played like in one of their NBA leagues or something. It was like $5 million. And that was more than anybody else had been offered. And so she's good. I was listening to it, and I think she'd had like 21 or 24 points already in the first half.
She's broken like almost all the records. And I don't even watch basketball. I don't even know how they play it, really.
Yeah. She's the only reason I've kept up with women's this year, just to see what she can do.
So you were already on to her as far as watching her. Is today the championship?
Yeah, for the women.
That's March Madness stuff,
sir.
right?
Yep. And I think tomorrow night's for the men. Be Purdue and Connecticut.
No. I just don't keep up with all that stuff
I don't keep up with it a lot, but I guess the only reason I keep up with it, I like watching SEC schools, basketball, because everybody said SEC schools was always about football, and Alabama, they made it to the Final Four this year. It's the first time they ever done that. And then Auburn's, who I pull for in football, they made it in 2019 to the Final Four and should have been in the finals, but that's another day for another discussion.
Did you play sports in high school much?
I played football, basketball, and baseball in high school, and I probably enjoyed baseball more than any of them. I was
second baseman.
No, I played center field.
Center field.
And but I enjoyed baseball, but I did play all the sports. Basketball is not probably my favorite, but I played just to keep myself in shape for coming for baseball.
Do you think they're in the funeral business that's going to keep being traditional and cremations, or do you think they'll go into something else? And what would it be? I mean, like cryonics?
Well, they've got now this, it's called alkyl hydrolysis. It's like a water-type cremation. That's been approved in different states now. I think Colorado has got it out there, and a couple of other states have got it. And it's basically, it's not a fire cremation. It's just they put you in this big tube in this water that basically has acid, and it breaks your body down, and it turns it to basically just a powder form. And that's passing now in different states. I think Georgia's even passed where they could allow you to have that, but those machines for that are probably $250,000.
What would be the advantage of that?
Just don't have propane and gas and fire, you know, or natural gas fired. It's just more cleaner is what they call it, you know. But cremation, the way we've been doing it is clean, other than just the natural gas and propane that we have to use. But it's not that much to do it that way. But everybody's looking at different ways to come up with things, you know. And the alkaline hydrolysis is catching on, especially out west. They're doing that out a lot west in California, Colorado.
It maybe have to do with environmental stuff, maybe.
It could be. I mean, you know, I had a battle with that with our crematory we put in down in Georgia when I first opened it up. Everybody was so scared about the mercury we're going to put off in the crematory because the feelings in your teeth. You know, everybody was like, "Oh, you're going to poison our community." And I was like, "No, it's nothing like that."
Be like that much?
I mean, yeah. I mean, very, very small amount. And people think, "Oh, you're smoking up." But the crematory don't smoke. You know, it's burning so hot, so high of temperature that you don't see no smoke on it. So you know, you hear or see that a lot. And that alkaline hydrolysis is different. There's no smoke or nothing like that. There's no heat or anything. It's just put you in this big tube and it does its thing and it makes you to a powder. Don't know if I agree with that. I haven't saw one firsthand, but you know, everything's changing. I think still in the places like Tennessee, the places in North Carolina, there's still going to be pockets in each state that people still going to be more traditional than, you know, cremation.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, that's just my opinion, the way I see things changing. But
what about this
cryogenics?
Cryogenics, yeah.
Don't know a whole lot about that.
Aren't some of the celebrities done that?
Yeah, some of them have. Yeah, I don't really pay a lot of attention to that. It hadn't really got into the funeral business a lot. That's still kind of something separate with schools and things like that.
Well, to me, it would, whether you're even going to do that, you'd still want closure for the family.
Yeah, you would. And, you know, we have people, you know, they have the body farm up at UT that they have up there. People, you know, take their loved ones and sign them over to that. Most of the time they have some type of memorial service on their own, but the body's not there anymore. That's kind of something you see a lot more. You see a lot more schools, you know, want people to donate their bodies to science. There's a place down in Atlanta or north of Atlanta over in the Swanee area. It's called Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. And you have to go through all this process to see whether or not they'll accept your body. If you have any kind of sickness, cancers, anything like that, they determine whether you're eligible or not. And then once you're done, once they get done doing all their studies, they cremate the body and then they send it back, the cremains, to them after it's all done. But it may be a year or so before they get them back. So everything's changing. I mean, so many things have changed in the funeral business over the last 30 years that I've been involved with it.
Do you think that a funeral director is better at administering closure for the family than, I mean, is that part of the training?
Well, that's the career we chose. You know, it's called funeral director for a reason. I mean, we're trying to direct the family to give them all the options that's available to them. I've heard some families come and say, hey, we don't need you. We just want you to cremate them. We'll do our own thing, you know. I'm like, okay, well, who's going to print up your memorial folders? Who's going to be there to get the funeral arranged and the flowers?
Death certificates, I guess?
Yeah. Well, death certificates, we have to do that anyway because we have to sign off of it and everything's done the right way and get that information. But as far as planning the funeral, I mean, you get some of these people in churches, they got these group they call funeral attendants now. They're almost trying to be funeral directors, but they're not licensed. And to conduct a funeral, you do have to have a funeral director's license in the state of Tennessee or Georgia or Alabama, wherever you may be. You have to have somebody there that can do it. There's a couple of churches down in the metro Atlanta area where they tell us, hey, we just want you to bring the casket in the door, place it right here, and we'll take care of the rest. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, we're going to be here. We're going to be here the whole time. So, you know, we're there, and they're not doing nothing with the body or the service that's illegal. I mean, we're there. We'll make sure everything's done the right way. So I think that a funeral director does have a place, but on the other hand, you got churches who's trying to do more now for their parishioners to help them and try to save money. But I think that we still have a lot of value as funeral directors, what we know and what we can suggest and things that we can do for a funeral.
But it seems like if it's something you have to be licensed for, then it's something that it has a history of needing to be licensed.
Yeah, you should be licensed, you know, because a funeral director has to sign a death certificate saying everything's been done, all this is verified. Funeral director has to sign a cremation permit before the cremation can take place. You know, we're required by the medical examiners here in Tennessee, we have to sign off of that and send it to them, say, okay, this is all the information's correct, this is what the family's chosen. So you can't just go cremate somebody unless you have all the proper authorizations done. And so I think there's still going to be a desire and a need for funeral directors for as long as humanity's here, till Jesus comes anyway.
Is there stuff after the funeral that a funeral director is required to do, like?
Well, the main thing is, you know, making sure the person is buried or cremated, everything done correctly. And then as far as the death certificates, we have to sign off on that. And then make sure the family gets all those necessary documents back after that. The family does call on us sometimes. They may say, hey, we was out at the cemetery and the grave's sinking. You know, we can call the vault people back and say, hey, can y'all go fill in some more dirt, get the grave back level, put some new sod on it, things like that. So there's always things like that we can do to help. And we also try to help them with Grief Share. We have a program now that we can sign a family up through Grief Share. They get daily and weekly notices about grief, what to expect, how things happen. There's groups that we can get people involved with at churches and things to help them as well with grief. Everybody handles it different. So I think there's a lot of value with what we do as funeral directors, you know, and who knows, if maybe somebody else in their family is going to be going soon again. They may have, hey, we got an uncle or aunt that's about to pass as well. What do we need to get prepared for? And kind of give them ideas about that. So you try to build trust and good relationships with families.
I bet there's a lot of times when the husband dies and the wife's shortly after.
Right, a lot.
I mean, you don't want to think about that, but I bet that is within a year or something.
It is, and it's kind of ironic you say that. We just had a brother and sister just a couple of weeks ago. We had a funeral for the brother on Friday. The next Friday, we had a funeral for a sister.
Were they elderly?
There was elderly, yes, sir. There was elderly couple.
Over 50?
Oh, yeah. I think both was over 70.
I don't even know what's elderly. I don't know what's elderly anymore, do you?
No, sir. I used to think 50 was old, but I'm 50 now. And now I think you're old will be 90, you know.
I don't feel old, do you?
Yeah, no, I don't.
How old do you feel?
I feel like I'm still in my 30s. I still go every day and do what I do. So I feel like I can still get with the best of them.
I don't notice any difference, really.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in my imagination.
Well, I think, you know, maybe some of our bones creaking and things like that, moving and squatting around doing things. But other than that, I feel fine.
One thing I've noticed is I don't seem to have the appetite that I used to. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I don't eat things like I used to. It's funny, you talk about appetite. I got up this morning and we was eating breakfast and I'd cooked some bacon and my wife had cooked some little thing with these rolls in it. It has pecans and butterscotch. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah.
And I said, over the last several years, bacon just, to me, don't taste like it used to.
It doesn't me either.
And I'm like, there's something wrong with this. My wife said, it's still good to me. I was like, well, here, you can have mine. I just don't care about bacon. And I used to love that. Bacon biscuit, bacon, egg, and cheese. But it just, to me, it don't seem like it tastes the same. Something's not right.
I'm the same way, and I just can't seem to put my finger on it. Even pizza doesn't taste the same as it used to.
It don't. It really don't.
Pizza Hut pizza used to be my favorite, and it's sort of like, I don't know. I think maybe that there's some preservatives.
I'm sure there's something.
There's something
there.
that's different.
Yeah, everything's different nowadays.
I ate some mashed potatoes last night with real butter, and it tasted real good. And a sirloin steak.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Nothing messed up about it. And
No, steak
plenty of
still
salt.
tastes the same, but
Too much pepper, and it was great.
yeah. I had a barbecue sandwich yesterday from Jordan's Barbecue over there, and it was good.
Oh, Jordan's, I ate there a lot.
Yeah, and
Did you meet him?
I met him when I first moved here over there at the restaurant. So yeah, good people.
They're good people.
And it's good food every time I've been there. It's
Good
really
food.
good.
And pretty fast.
Yes, sir.
He's been there a long time. He's about 70.
Yeah, I know he's getting on.
He don't
up
look
there.
it, does he?
He don't. He works every day over there. You don't see people like that anymore,
No.
that get in a business and stick with it and still doing it,
No.
30 years later. You just don't see that as much anymore. And
He always gets me at the cash register with those cookies. I'm full, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I'll just buy a cookie.
have something for the road. That's right.
What do you like to eat the most? Do you eat lunch a lot around here?
I do. I go to Aubrey's some, and I like Mexican food.
I like Mexican. They're all about the same.
They're all
aren't they?
good, yes, sir.
I ate at Salsaritas today. You ever eat there?
Never been there
Boy,
yet.
it's really
I've
good.
heard, but I've never ate there yet.
Really good. They got kind of a messed up line sort of thing, Some people just can't get through there. They can't say that, and that. They go,
Yeah, let me
drives
think
me
about
nuts.
it. Yeah.
And then nowadays you have the DoorDash people in line with you.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Do you? I mean, what would you have to pay somebody to go to a restaurant, order for you, and take it to your house and not spill it, and get condiments? What would you have to pay them?
Friday night, I was on my way home. They said, "Dad, we're going to get Panda Express." I said, "Y'all picking it up?" They said, "No, we're going to have it DoorDash." I said,
And this is in Georgia?
In Georgia, in Woodstock. And so I got there, and I saw the chicken teriyaki is what I wanted. It was on the counter, and I was like, well, "Where's the rest of the food at?" And they said, "Oh, they left off 2 orders." So I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, what are they going to do?" They said, "Oh, well, they're going to bring us back the right thing," and they credit us back $40. And I was like, "Well, how much was all of it for all 4 of us?" And it was like $65 for Panda Express. Just simple Chinese fast food and all that.
4 people.
4 people. And I'm thinking, wow. I said, that is expensive.
Well, that would have been $40 anyhow.
Right.
So it's 15, and I guess you had supposed to tip.
Oh, yeah, you have to do that before you hit the submit button to pay for it. You have to put your tip on there. But the thing about it, the thing I feel the worst about is the people that's actually doing the dashing. They're only getting a certain percentage, and DoorDash is making, pretty good bit of money off of it. They're using their car, their time, their gas.
It doesn't make sense.
It don't.
I got this friend of mine, his wife got mad at him because he wasn't giving him enough. He wasn't giving her some money or something, so she went out and started doing DoorDash just to show him.
Sure.
She just said she did it one time. It was chaos.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because you got to go in there, picking up for so-and-so, then you got to deliver it to them. And then if the order's right, you get hammered because, they may not put the right food in there. No condiments is involved or nothing. And it's just I like going and eating and being done. That way you know what you're getting.
Well, and I can't imagine them understanding what I want and not saying, "No, that's not what you said."
Right.
That happened.
Oh,
You
it
can't
does.
even hardly do that at the restaurant
No, you
now
can't.
with it
You
standing
can't.
in front of them. I believe there's all of that's somebody's gonna come up with some other
I think
method.
something's got to happen. It's just
Because you couldn't factor in your gas and everything
right
and still do it.
make you money.
You couldn't do it if you factored every cost in, we're all going broke.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if you factored it all in and charged it, you couldn't get any business.
I agree.
So I'm not sure how we make it, but we just charge what we can charge.
Right, and I think that's kind of what they're just charging what they can right now. You know.
I can understand Uber
Sure.
a little bit better because they're sort of en route,
Right,
and, you know,
right. And they're taking you from your house to the airport or house to a restaurant
and picking
or a basketball
someone else
game.
up and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's talking about those Uber drivers. I mean, like if you go to the Atlanta Falcons game or a college football game at the Georgia, or what it used to be the Georgia Dome Mercedes-Benz, and you walk out and all you see is these cars with Uber things in them trying to take you different places. And you're trying to find out which one's your guy, you know, and it's crazy. I went to the Atlanta airport a week or so. Well, it's been over a week ago. Easter weekend, my wife's sister had her first baby, and they live in New Orleans. And my brother-in-law, he's a music professor there at New Orleans Theological Seminary. And my wife was wanting us to go, and we had this big funeral up here on Easter weekend. And I said, look, I'll tell you what, I said, I'll drive y'all down there Friday, and I'll fly back home for the funeral. So I drove them to New Orleans on Friday, went to the airport and called a plane to come back to Atlanta. And when I got there, it was all these cars, lined up with Uber, you know, picking people up over the weekend. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, and my friends, they picked me up, took me back home, and they brought me back to the airport. And they said, you ought to see all the Uber cars parked over here in the waiting lot just for people to get there. And I said,
with their car running.
With the car running, yeah. And so I said, reckon what they get paid, just take somebody like from the airport to Woodstock. They said, oh, it's $100 flat, you know, usually 100, 120, depending on the peak. And then once again, you know, it's that driver in their car, and then Uber's getting a percentage of their money just for being able to do the phone and the mobile apps.
And I'm sure their insurance company would like to know that they're driving the Uber cars.
I'm sure.
So that can't be.
Yeah,
that's the real ruler.
Yep. And there's a lady in Woodstock. I can't think of her name now, but she's got a business, and that's what she does. And she's not Uber. She has her own paperwork, she has her own liability insurance and everything. And she's taken me before from Woodstock to the airport and charged me like $75. But you know, she's getting all of it. It ain't going to Uber or whoever else. So
and you know her name, you know her name, first name, you got her phone into speed dial.
Yeah.
What did they used to do? I guess you just used to
drive to the airport or get a cab.
Get a cab to go to or get one of those vans to go.
Yeah.
Used to, I'd stay at the hotels that were close there, and they'd have a van that took you.
Right.
But still, it's a lot of commuting.
Right.
Tesla's supposed to come out with these self-driving cabs. And if they do that, it'll change everything.
Oh, it will. It will. I don't know if I like the self-driving part of it, though.
I don't know if I would either.
Yeah, that's kind of pushing the envelope.
If they did change the whole interior of cars. It'd be a couch and a bed and
be everything different.
I couldn't relax, though, could you?
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Man,
Not somebody
going to run a stop sign or a red
red
light.
machine driving me around, I don't think I'd be very comfortable with that.
You notice these changes, these big changes will just be little increments, and then it's all of a sudden, it's just, that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, too, about emails and stuff, like if you want to send somebody a letter anymore in the mail, you just about can't figure on if they're going to get it or not.
No, sir, you can't.
I mean, it's going to be, it was 3 days.
3 days. Now it might be 3 months.
I have to send my bills to people because I don't do that online stuff. I can't keep the record straight. Mm-hmm. And I have to send it like 10 days ahead of time because if I don't, they don't get it. There's a charge, and then I go to argue with them.
Sure, I know.
I wonder if there'll ever be a day when you have like Uber mail. I guess that's just a certified mail.
I guess.
But
down in Palmetto, Georgia, they just opened up a 200 dock bay mail sorting facility there in Atlanta. The Postal Service did, and there was people who was not getting their mail, just like you just said. And we had an issue with the funeral home up here at the old Ralph Buckner location. We had some pipes that bursted back in January that did some damage and caused some issues, and the insurance company owed us about $20,000 for things we had to pay to get fixed. Well, they started sending us checks, started in February. We didn't get the check till the end of March. And I was like, what is taking so long? So we kept calling the insurance company. Said, oh, well, we mailed it. We did this. We did that. And I was like, well, we don't have it yet. This is a month later. So they said, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll stop payment on that. We'll overnight you a check by FedEx. I was like, whatever. I said, these people just need to get paid. I said, I've paid some of them already. I'd like to get reimbursed. So they overnighted a check. It's supposed to be the next day. Well, they sent me the link, tell me where to track it. And the check was in Memphis, Tennessee at their sorting facility. We didn't get it till the next day, and they had paid like $60 for overnight shipping. And I called them and said, well, the check shows it's up in Memphis. Why did it go to Memphis? I said, y'all are in Macon, Georgia, and they were sending it to Woodstock. I said, we could have drove down there and picked the check up, but it ended up in in Memphis, and then we didn't get it till the next day. And come to find out, the Postal Service had opened up this new sorting facility, and people's mail was so far behind, they was taking 3 weeks to a month to get their mail sorted out. And it showed, they had it on Atlanta News, and I saw a thing on Facebook about it, and it showed all these tractor trailers lined up at this mail sorting facility, like along the road. There was like 100 trucks there. They didn't know how to unload the mail, get it sorted properly.
Lack of good help. That's why we all have problems.
Yes, sir. Everybody has problems getting help.
You ever wonder how those machines read those addresses on the front, those zip codes? Because I try to write it real neat, but I'll get some stuff I think, how in the world could anybody read this?
Yeah,
and they've got a machine. How do they know that?
I don't know.
They
That's
talk
probably
about
the problem.
It
That's
may
part
be.
of the problem.
Did you see that on the news where they found a mailman that had like bags and bags of undelivered mail in his living room?
I saw that.
That's like that Seinfeld episode. Remember when?
Yeah.
When he wasn't delivering the mail?
Yes, sir.
Had it in storage.
Yeah.
Kramer put it in storage or something.
And then not long ago, it's been the last 6 months, down in Atlanta, there was a mail person there got terminated because they was taking the mail, dumping it in the garbage dumpster behind somebody's business.
Why?
It was people's checks and everything else.
Why
was in
not
there.
just deliver the mail?
I guess they didn't want to do the job. They wanted to get the money, but didn't want to do the work.
I don't understand people, do you?
I don't either. It's crazy what the country we live in right now with all the people needing help and nobody wants to work, it seems.
When we were in our 20s, and I hate to sound like an old man complaining or whatever, but people's character was different.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think that's my imagination. Do
No,
you?
it was different. It was definitely different back then. We all knew what it had to do to get up and go to work to make a living. We knew what we had to do for 8 or 10 or 12-hour job we had to do. We did it.
Would you say that we had a sense of fear, a slight sense of fear?
Yeah,
That's
what
what I see it as.
Yeah.
Because you might end up on the street.
Yes, sir.
If your church didn't help you, you were in trouble.
That's right. And we knew we had to make a living to support our family and do our jobs. But now it don't seem that way.
Maybe they're right. Maybe we just don't worry about it.
I've heard people
But I
say
get
that.
cold outside. I
Me
get
too.
hungry.
Yeah,
I
me
want to
too.
order
I
a
wanna
pizza
eat.
tonight.
I wanna-
I want to order one of those pizzas I say
Sure,
I don't
sure.
like as well.
Yes, sir.
Still going to eat it.
Yes, sir.
When you're here, do you stay at Fike?
I stay at Fike and I stay over at the Hill, and then some nights
The Hill? Oh, you mean like in the back?
the Ralph Buckner location over there.
Is that scary?
Mm-mm.
It would be for a normal person.
Probably, but it's I just go to bed and go to sleep.
You're just used to.
I'm used to it. Mm-hmm. Have a bed and shower and do what I need to do and get up and get going.
Do you ever wonder if the dead can see us?
No, I never thought about that at all.
I often wonder if there's some realization of
Yeah, because I know that, once we die and our spirit leaves us, we're going to heaven or the other place, and that's just a shell of a body there, and there's no life to it anymore.
I just noticed that when friends of mine die, that a few days later, something I'm trying to work out will just be solved.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder if they've got something to do with it.
I don't know. That'd be a question for you and the good Lord.
But I've noticed that it's a coincidence. If you weren't a funeral director, what would you be?
I don't know. I've asked myself that, what I would like to do, and I don't really know what I would like to do, if I wasn't a funeral director. I mean, I don't even know where I'd start, really.
You'd be really starting from scratch because you've been in it so long.
So long, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. What about, like, you don't know if you got free weekends or not because you don't know if you'll have a funeral coming up, right?
Right. We try to work it where everybody can have a weekend off, or every other weekend off or something like that. But I always found out, my name's on the sign, and the family needs to see somebody with that name there at that funeral home trying to take care of them. And that's why I try to be as available as much as I can. But we all do need our time off, and take a break and be able to just decompress a little bit.
You have to, or you'll go crazy.
You'll go crazy.
So now the Etowah Funeral Home, I bet they are more traditional than here even, right?
It's a little different up there. There's a lot more cremations up there than you would think.
I would have thought that there would have been more traditional.
Yeah, we have a pretty good mix of it, but I would say probably more of it will lead toward the cremation side, especially north of Etowah. We do get a lot of calls up that way from UT Hospice, some of the other hospice companies up there. We get them as far north as Pigeon Forge and, Sevierville, Maryville, that area.
Is that right?
And they're traditional, they're cremations, more cremations than you would think.
I could live in Etowah. I like Etowah.
Yeah.
It's
quiet. A neat little place.
It's neat.
It is.
I just really like it.
Yeah.
I have 2 rental houses up there. They're never vacant. I mean, never. If they move out, their sister moves in or their brother moves in.
Yeah.
I mean, the people there won't leave.
Yeah.
They just won't leave. They like it there.
Yeah, they like it there, yeah. I ate up there, I guess it was last Thursday night, there at Michael's restaurant there.
Oh, yeah, up there on the left?
On the left, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was some good food. Mm-hmm. And people just as down to earth as you ever want to meet and talk to. They're very humble people. And
which way do you go to get there? Do you go down the...
I used to go up 411.
Okay.
Up all the way.
From Polk County?
Polk County, hit up there and be there in about 30 minutes.
Have you ever gone down what Bowater 500 they call it?
I think I've been down that way one time.
Boy, they fly.
Yeah.
But if you got a not in that county license plate, you can't fly.
Right.
The police will stop
Get you. Yes, sir.
And you got to dodge Calhoun because they will give you a speeding ticket if you drive through there.
Yeah. And then what's the other place right above Etowah up there?
Oh, Inglewood?
Inglewood.
Oh.
I know 2 people in the last 6 months got speeding tickets there.
Well, they say that the girl that was writing all the tickets in Charleston or in Calhoun went to work there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's just...
Yeah. Well, she's getting her share of them.
Golly, why they want to do that? I mean, if somebody's driving 70 miles an hour and 80, give them a ticket.
Yeah.
But 38 and a 35 is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They get or 45 and a 40. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. They'll do that in Benton, too.
Benton, right across from the Higgins Funeral Home.
Yeah, you better.
They'll stop you.
You better be doing below the speed limit.
I had to go to a meeting up there a couple years ago, and the people wanted me to come up and meet them. So I was running late, so I forgot. I'm driving through there, and I'm not going fast. You know, it's 50.
Right.
There's no reason
Right.
to stop at 40 miles an hour through there. But I was just going, and anyway, I got the meeting. I said, hey, I'm sorry, I'm late. I got a ticket. And the guy that I was meeting there says, let me see your ticket. So I said, here. And I showed it to him. And so I went about the meeting. So after the meeting, I said, hey, I need my ticket. And he said, you mean your parking ticket? He had already took care of it.
How about that? That was mighty nice of him.
That was nice of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you ever been to the Amish place up there?
No, I have not been there yet. I want to go visit there.
It's really neat.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's neat.
So I told my wife, I said, once we get moved up here, we'll go visit that one weekend.
If you go on a Saturday morning in the early summer, it's packed.
Yeah, I've heard.
And there's another one in Etowah, I think.
Yeah,
but
there's
I
one in
haven't been
Etowah.
to that one.
I ain't been there either. I saw that the other day. Said it was going to be opening soon.
Last week I had a guest, Larry Eaton, and he was from between Inglewood and Athens. I guess it's that triangle up there, and I've never been there, but anyway, it's interesting how things always come back around on it. What about your younger daughter? She's looking to be a nurse too, or what's her thing?
No, she wants to be a cosmetologist. She wants to do hair. She has a thing she likes doing hair and makeup.
Now that's another thing that's strict licenses,
Yes,
isn't
sir.
it?
Yes, sir. It is.
It's not just cutting hair. You'd think it would be, wouldn't you?
would
Just
think
cutting
it
hair.
Used to be, but it's not
Just
anymore.
cut hair, like Floyd and Floyd's barbershop.
Yeah, yeah.
I bet he wasn't licensed.
Yeah, I'm sure he wasn't. Not then.
But I guess, I don't know why they had to. I guess it's,
Yeah, I guess they just want anybody walking off the street cutting hair.
let me ask you this. Years ago, there were always, most of the funeral places sold furniture, didn't they?
That's how the funeral home started.
Now explain that.
Yeah, it used to be the furniture makers built the caskets, and that's how the funeral home got started. Was undertakers was furniture makers. They made the caskets, and if you look at a lot of the old westerns that you used to see, the furniture store was right next door to the undertaker, and that's how it got started. They would build the caskets, and they would.
So instead of just making the casket, it evolved into, we'll have a room here that you can.
You can have a room here you can visit, and then we'll go bury them with a horse and buggy. Sure did.
Do you wonder what the earliest, when they first started embalming?
Oh God, that was back in the 1600s. If my memory serves me right, from mortuary school, we learned about that, how it all got started.
Was it formaldehyde then? What does that do exactly?
It just preserves and disinfect the body from diseases and things like that. And that's how they used to have it where, embalming started. That's what the main thing of embalming is, preservation and disinfecting the body to keep the general public from getting any kind of contagious diseases or anything like that. That's the whole point of embalming. And it just gives more of a lifelike appearance for the family to say their goodbyes and have a dignified service.
Is that a law that you had to have them embalmed?
If you're going to have a public viewing, yes, it is. Because
I see. So it's two parts.
there's two parts to it. Yes, sir.
Preserves the body and
Right.
disinfects for.
Right. For public viewing and the public to be around.
What about when COVID hit? Did that affect your business much?
A lot, yes, sir. Back when COVID first happened, we only had our Woodstock location, and we had the Cherokee County Marshal's office come around to all the funeral homes and said, "Look, y'all can't have more than 5 people in your building at one time." And we was like, "Okay, so you're basically telling us we can't have any funerals?" And he said, "Yeah, that's what we're saying. You can only have 5 people here." And even if we went to the cemetery, there couldn't be more than 5 people there, even outside under a tent. And so what we would do, we would get there and we'd tell the family, "Okay, look, you can only have 5 people here. What we're going to do is we're going to get back in our hearse, and we're going to sit in the car and let y'all have your service without having more than 5 people." And it basically got to having direct funerals or direct burials or direct cremations, because it got so scary there at the first part of COVID. The hospitals say, "Look, these COVID bodies are in these black body bags. Don't even open the bags.
Well, they didn't know.
Because they
I
didn't
guess.
know
Yeah.
what was what. And they would tell us, don't open these body bags. Just if you're going to cremate them or bury them, put them in the casket or put them in the crematory and don't open them up. And that was some scary times, because we didn't know what COVID was or what. And it got to the point where we couldn't even get like gloves to where,
Yeah, they were out.
Because everybody was taking them up so fast. And we searched around and got enough gloves, and even the marshal's office would provide us gloves just so we could have something to work with to be safe.
And you were a necessary business.
We was a necessary business, yes, sir. We had a letter wrote up from the marshal's office that we kept in our cars. If we got pulled over, that they knew we was going to the funeral home or whatever, that was a necessary job, necessary workers that we knew what we was doing, and that was given our right to be there. Never got stopped, but we had it in our cars just in case. And then it started easing up, but that was a time I'll never forget in the funeral business, that COVID time, and especially for our country and especially for us workers. People couldn't say their goodbyes proper. Nobody could come and say goodbye to their loved one or their friends or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't have no funerals.
Some people were saying, were talking with their elderly grandparents maybe through a glass wall during that.
Oh yeah.
A few weeks before or something.
They'd have to look out the window and see their loved one in a nursing home. They couldn't even go visit their loved one there. They'd have to come and wave at them through the window just to say hello.
We've come through all that now, and the summer's getting ready to be here, and man, the future's great, isn't it?
I hope so. Talk about things going on. Everybody's talking tomorrow about the eclipse, the solar eclipse.
Oh, yeah, the eclipse, yeah. What time's it supposed to hit?
Well, I don't think it's supposed to be till sometime in the afternoon, maybe 5 or something like that.
I got a text from somebody that said if you bought certain glasses, make sure they work because they may not work or something like that.
Yeah.
Is it a partial eclipse or a full?
I think it's supposed to be a full eclipse. And I think the main part of it's going to be up in Indiana, Kentucky. That area is really supposed to be dark. And once again, you see people about conspiracy theorists and all this about this stuff, so you don't know what to believe anymore.
I love conspiracy theories.
You hear all
don't
kind
you?
of stuff.
I love to hear it think about it.
Yeah.
Just to daydream about it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of them
There's
out
a lot
there,
of them
isn't
out there, yes, sir.
That internet has given us all kinds of conspiracy
I think
theories.
the social media, that's what I was telling my girls that they always talk about that. I said, the internet's good. I said, but it's also been really challenging because there's so many things on social media that's changed things, and how you can talk about somebody on social media and just blow up, and it's good and bad, it's good because you can really research a lot of things off your phone, but on the other hand, you can really destroy somebody too on social media pretty quick.
And all that's not going to stop. It's here. There's no, you could never get rid of that phone.
No, you can't now. We depend on them so much.
I don't know what's going to change with all of that.
I don't either.
We're just going to have to adjust, I guess.
Think about it. Could we go back and live like we did 20 years ago or 30 years ago when we didn't have a cell phone? I can remember, as I told you, when I first got in the funeral business, cell phones had just came out, really, at that point.
The bag phones, I guess?
The bag phones, yeah. The bag phones, the first phone I ever had was a bag phone. And then it went to these little...
bricks?
Like a phone about this tall and had a cord, an antenna a foot long. And, you thought you was somebody if you had one of those things.
Who was it made that famous on that movie?
Was it Southern Link or something like that? Southern Tel or something? That was the first phone I remember having.
Nextel?
Nextel.
Boy, they were good. They had that speaker on there.
Button on there. You could talk to somebody.
Boy, they worked good.
Yeah,
I remember those were the best phones.
Yeah. And then we went to the flip phones and everything else. It's just changed. And then it got to be a computer on there, and your phone's a computer now. It's basically what it is. So, like I said, you can destroy somebody in a matter of minutes.
You'll drop your Coke, you'll drop your cigarettes, you'll drop everything before you drop that phone.
Yes, sir.
I know one thing, they're a lot stronger than they used to be, aren't they? I'd break 2 a year.
Yeah, it's easy to break them.
I was at my old office, and had a guy up front answering the phone, and you couldn't see him. you had to look like that because there was a little crack you could see him through the doorway. So anyway, I got mad and I turned around and I grabbed that phone. I went wham, and it went right through that crack and hit him.
Oh my Lord!
I mean, it was 30 yards away.
Yeah.
How it made it through there, I'll never know.
Yeah.
But it just went right through there, hit him on the side, and I turned around and he said, "What was that?" I never will forget that.
Yeah.
He said, "What was that?" And I said, "Oh, I dropped my phone."
Yeah. I dropped it all right.
Well, we're glad to have you in Cleveland. Wish you all the luck. You know, if there's anything, you know, Cleveland can do to share the wealth or whatever, I'm sure there's a lot of room for 2 or 3 funeral homes here, 4, whatever. There's a lot of people in
There's
Cleveland.
a lot of them here now, and there's a lot of people here. And like I said, been here, and new people moving in every day. So we're just glad to be part of the community and trying to do our best we can to meet everybody's needs and that want to use our services, that has a need. You know, just reach out to us if there's something we can do or answer questions. You just want to come by and meet us and have a cup of coffee and find out who we are about and who we are. I mean, just anytime we're here to serve.
Did you change the name on all of them?
All of them, yes, sir.
So they all say what?
The old Ralph Buckner location is Poole Funeral Home and Cremation Services of Cleveland. The Fike location is Poole Funeral Home at Fike Chapel. And then the Serenity location up here on Ocoee Street is Poole Serenity Funeral Home and Cremation Services of Cleveland. And then the one up at Etowah is Poole Funeral Home and Cremation Services of Etowah. So we don't have anything about Serenity on that one. It's just Poole Funeral Home and Cremation Services of Etowah.
Now, Serenity used to be what? Grissom.
Grissom
Mark
Funeral.
Grissom.
Yes,
he was
sir.
a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I've
Great
heard
guy.
A lot of people say a lot of good things about him, and wish I could have met him. You know, I heard he was a good person.
He was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've heard that.
He was.
They said he was a lot of fun. He was a funny guy.
I went with him down there to embalm a body one time.
Really?
Yeah, he took me down.
Wow.
I didn't stay long.
Yeah.
I told him I was going to have to
Yeah,
go.
I got to go. I can't
Yeah, it
handle
wasn't
this.
it's not my thing.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, listen, Brian, we wish you luck.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thanks
your
for
time.
coming.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.